need to find dt by dr at r equal to r naught, right. So that is what tells you what is the heat transport coefficient. So what we are going to do is, in order to find this, we need to solve the model equations. All we have done so far is we have only looked at what are the properties, what are the insights that we can get without solving the equations. So now we are going to solve the actual equation, and we are going to find out what is the actual heat transport coefficient value. Okay. So suppose we assume that the boundary layer approximations are valid. We assume that the boundary layer approximations are valid for the fluid which is flowing through the tube, and if we assume that it is in the fully developed regime, what is the nature of heat transport coefficient in the fully developed regime? Yeah, it does not vary. So it's a h by k is not a function of the axial position. Okay. So the model equation for energy balance is u du by dx plus v dt by dr, that is equal to alpha by r Okay. So that is after you introduce the boundary layer approximations. What is V in the fully developed regime? V is 0 because the flow is only in the x direction. So V is 0 in the fully developed regime. So the equation essentially boils down to u dt by dx equal to alpha by r d by dr dt by dr. Okay. So now, how do we solve this equation? Boundary conditions are easy. The dt by dr is 0 at r equal to 0, and T is, let us say, if it is constant temperature, it is T is Ts. So let us say it is not constant, it is a general boundary condition, T equal to Ts at Ts of x at r equal to r naught. So that is the boundary condition. How do we solve this? Note that u is now a function of the radial position. What is u? U is 2 times um into 1 minus r by r naught the whole square. So separation of variable will not work. Simple separation of variable will not work. So how do we solve this? Okay, so we have to now tap on some of the properties that we actually derived without solving the equations. Okay. So suppose I start with a constant flux condition. For constant flux conditions, we know that dt by dx, dtm by dx, that is a constant. Okay. Why is this? Because we said that the temperature profile in the fully developed regime is similar at any x location, and therefore dTm by dx, and therefore the local temperature gradient in the x direction remains a constant. So now if we impose that condition here, we can rewrite this equation as 2 um 1 minus r by r naught square into dTm by dx, which is a constant, that is equal to alpha by r d by dr dt by dr. Simply by using the properties, now it has become a solvable equation. It is now only an equation in r direction, right. So we can easily solve this equation now. So that will be T of r comma x will be 2 um by alpha multiplied by r square by 4 minus r power 4 by 16 r naught square plus C1 ln r plus C. So that's the solution. So all I have done is I have just integrated the expression with respect to r. I have integrated it twice. Okay. So you take r on this side, that gives you r square by 2, and then you will get r square by r to the power of 4 by 64 you will get. And then you divide by r again, it will be r by 2, and then you integrate again, it will be r square by 4. So every integral in the first term will give you a 1 by 2, and every integral here will give you a 1 by 4. Oh, dt, sorry, that's a dt m by dx. Thanks. Right, so that should be a dt m by dx. I forgot to copy this here. Which one? dt m is already a cup mixing temperature. Yeah, it's already there. If we now put in the expression for dt m by dx, now that's a function of x alone, right? So Tm is already integrated over r. So Tm is not a function of radial position anymore. Yeah. No, dTm by Tm is a function of x, but dTm by dx is constant. And so which means Tm is linear. Yeah, right. So Tm is linear, and this is nothing but Qs prime into P by m dot Cp. So that's a constant. No, this is gradient, not Tm. Be very careful. This is dTm by dx. It's not Tm. Tm goes as Tm at x equal to 0 plus Qs double prime P into x by m dot Cp. That's the expression for Tm. But dTm by dx is a constant. dt by dx? Yeah. From here, dt by dx will be, why is that? dTm by dx at what r location? Yeah, so let's first put all these constants. You will see that this constant is now going to play a role. We'll see that. So now if I substitute these boundary conditions, T of r comma x, that should be equal to Ts at any x location minus 2 um r naught square by alpha into dTm by dx multiplied by 3 by 16 plus 1 by 16 r by r naught to the power of 4 minus 1 by 4 r by r naught to the power of 2. Okay. So that's the expression. Now if I find out what is Tm from here, okay, so that is by integrating over the cross section. So that will be Ts, that remains constant, minus it will be 11 by 48 into um r naught square by alpha into dTm by dx. Okay, so that's the expression for Tm. And so now we know that Tm, dTm by dx is Qs double prime P by m dot Cp. So I substitute that here. So Tm x minus Ts, that's equal to minus 11 by 48 into um r naught square by alpha into Qs double prime P by m dot Cp. Okay. Alright, so now we know Qs prime is defined as the heat transport coefficient H into Ts minus Tm, right. So that's the heat transport coefficient. So we can rewrite this as Ts Tmx minus Ts, that's equal to 11 by 48 into R naught square by alpha into h into the perimeter divided by what is m dot? It's rho into into the cross sectional area cross sectional area multiplied by Cp into Ts minus Tm. So now I can the minus sign. So that is Tm minus Ts, which is equal to 1, that's equal to 11 by 48 R naught square divided by alpha into h into p divided by rho pi d square by 4 or pi R naught square into Cp. So R naught square goes off, okay, and then so that will become goes off, okay. So what is alpha rho into Cp? What is alpha into rho into Cp? Is nothing but K, right, conductivity. So that will be 11 by 48 into h into P divided by K. What's the perimeter? Pi into D, right, into pi, sorry. So perimeter is 11 by 48 into h into pi into D divided by K into pi, okay. So now from here we will see that 1 equal to 11 by 48 into hd by k. What is hd by k? Is Nusselt number, right. So that will be 11 by 48 into Nusselt number, okay. So from here we find that Nusselt number is 48 by 11. So Nusselt number is 48 by 11 is approximately 4.66, okay. Why are we getting it constant? Because the heat transport coefficient is constant, right. So in a fully developed regime, okay, so we find that Nusselt number is also a constant in that regime. And so similarly one could do an exercise for the constant temperature case, and one would find that Nusselt number will be about 3.66. The same exercise, you solve the equation, put all the characteristics of the local temperature gradient, and you will find that the Nusselt number is about 3.66. So it's consistent with the properties and the characteristics that we observed without solving the equation. So remember, I always told you all through this course that before you solve the equation, you try to get maximum information out of it, and you attempt to get insights about the problem. Only that is going to help you to verify whether the solution that you got is right. Otherwise, you have no way to compare the solution that you got with the actual insights into the problem. So it's always useful to get the insights first and intuitively predict what is going to be the nature of the behavior, and then you go and get the actual solution. So that way you have a benchmark to compare with, okay. Alright, so now this is all the story about fully developed regime. But when it comes to like entry region, where the boundary layer is definitely present, so it turns out that in the entry region there is no analytical solution possible. No analytical solution is possible, and therefore we have to rely upon some of these correlations. And so if it is a constant surface temperature case, if it is a constant surface temperature, so the correlation to find out the Nusselt number, again this is average Nusselt number, it has been found based on experiments, empirical correlations, and so that will be 3.36 plus 0.60668 Prandtl number divided by 1 plus 0.04 into D by L into RED Prandtl number to the power of 2 by 3. Now, I do not expect you to remember these correlations for your exams. If these correlations have to be used, they will be given to you. Okay, so you do not have to memorize any of them. What would be useful is to understand how to use these correlations rather than trying to memorize these correlations. Okay, so if at all these correlations are required, it will be given to you. Okay. Now, there is a general correlation which is available. It's called the Sider-Tate. Some of you may have already heard this name, Sider-Tate equation. So, Nusselt number is given by 1.86, Knoll's number, Prandtl number 1 by 3, okay. And so here this correlation is valid when Prandtl number is between 0.48 and 1870, and the ratio of mu to mu s. What is mu? So, viscosity is obviously a function of temperature, right. So, mu s is the viscosity of the fluid evaluated at the surface temperature, and mu is the viscosity evaluated at intermediate temperature, right. So, mu by, so this is valid when mu s is less than 9.75. So, that is a pretty large validity. Okay. So, you are now going to have a heat transport problem where the ratio of viscosity is really going to change more than 9.75, that is too much. Okay. So, that is a pretty good equation, and so the properties are evaluated. So, the properties are evaluated at mean temperature, which is TMI O by 2 plus TMO by 2. So, that is the mean temperature at the inlet and the outlet. Okay. Now, one could actually extend this to a mass transport problem. Okay. How do we extend this? By boundary layer analogy, right. So, we know that we have boundary layer analogy. So, Sherwood number is the equivalent for Nusselt number in heat transport. So, if we have mass transport and heat transport, so Sherwood number and Nusselt number are equivalent to each other, Schmidt number and Prandtl number are equivalent, right. So, you replace Nusselt number with Sherwood and Prandtl with Schmidt, you will get the corresponding correlation for mass transport. Okay. So, just for completeness, we will write them here. 1.86 Schmidt number divided by L by D 1 by 3. Alright, so the last piece of the puzzle for internal flows is the heat transport coefficient during turbulent conditions. Okay, so we never talked about turbulent conditions. What's the Reynolds number transition? 2100 for laminar to the transition region, and typically 4000. Of course, it varies a lot depending upon the nature of the fluid and the surface of the tube. So approximately 4000, you would consider that the fluid is actually in a turbulent regime, and so in those conditions also there is no analytical solution available. Analytical solution possible. There is no analytical solution possible as of today, and so the first correlation is called Colburn equation, where Nusselt number is given by 0.023 Prandtl number to the power of 1 by 3, 4 by 5. So remember that you start seeing this product of Reynolds to Prandtl because Reynolds number dependence comes from the flow and the Prandtl number actually comes from the temperature gradient at the boundary, okay, or the interface between the fluid and the solid. And a general correlation is called the Dietz-Boelter equation. So this is actually something which is very widely used. Dietz-Boelter equation is very widely used, and in fact you must have seen this in your turbulent flow experiments, those who have already performed it. And the equation is average. So that will be 0.023 RED to the power of 4 by 5 into Prandtl to the power of n. So the difference between Colburn and the Dietz-Boelter equation is that depending upon whether the heat is being lost from the fluid or whether the heat is gained by the fluid, the exponent n is slightly different. Okay, so n is 0.4 if Ts is greater than the mixing cup temperature at any cross section. So which means that there is heat, that is net heat, that is gained by the fluid, and it is 0.3 if Ts is less than Tn. Okay, and of course there is some range, validity range. So the validity is, so it's 0.7 less than or equal to Prandtl number 160 and 10,000. Okay, those of you who have already performed the turbulent flow experiments, you have been told that the Reynolds number should be about 10,000. The reason why that's the case is the validity of the equation, the correlation that you use is only when the Reynolds number is sufficiently large. So if you actually have, some of you who have actually done this experiment and have not calculated the Reynolds number, which you should have, if you have not calculated and checked whether the Reynolds number is greater than 10,000, you will see that there will be a variation in your prediction. The straight line fit that you are trying to fit your experimental data will really not fit your experimental data very well unless your Reynolds number is sufficiently large where the correlation is valid. So that's very important. So these validity regions, they actually play a very important role, and just like in any statistics, you cannot apply a fit to the range which is outside the validity of the fit, right? So if it is a linear regression fit, you cannot apply the fit to any range which is outside the validity of that fit. So therefore pay attention to these validity regimes. Depending upon the Reynolds number and depending upon the properties, you may have to use different correlations. Once again, of course, I can translate the same thing to mass transport problem by replacing the Nusselt number to Sherwood and Prandtl number to Schmidt number.